Okay, welcome back. And now from the chairman of LASIEC, let's swing over to the presidency. And waiting for us there is Mr. Ajuri Ngelale, Senior Special Assistant for Public Affairs. Good morning, Ajuri. Great to see you.
Good morning, Uncle Yori. Always a privilege to be with you, sir.
All right, then. Now, something came up, and I thought you'd be our man. We're looking at the federal government's EEFP, Export Expansion Facility Program, and this is under the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan. Now, tell us what that really means. The Export Expansion Facility. If I'm an exporter, my level, if I'm an individual exporter, if I'm a conglomerate, could you sort of take us through it, please, and see how you indeed will be expanding facilities for exporters?
Thank you very much, Uncle Yori. So this is really an extension of President Muhammadu Buhari's active determination since 2015 to really move beyond the rhetoric as it relates to economic diversification and move very swiftly into very aggressive action. So this is one of those action steps. So as you know, over the last several years, we've been aggressively investing in agriculture and other very labor-intensive sectors, really moving our productivity away from merely just oil and gas. A major part of that now, as we move towards self-sufficiency, for example, in rice, in 2015, most Nigerians know that we were the largest importer of rice in Africa. We are today the largest producer of rice in Africa. So we're making a lot of progress. But as we're moving to address meet our self-sufficiency, meet our local demand, we're now getting to the point where we're meeting the local demand and now getting to the point where we can export the excess. So what the president is now doing is, in effect, through the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, under the very able leadership of Barrister Segun Awolowo, what is happening is that the president is now providing multiple facilities for Nigerian exporters, for those who are producing in Nigeria to export abroad. So, for example, we have the Export Development Fund is releasing export grants to exporters across the country, particularly with quotas for women and disadvantaged citizens, such as physically disadvantaged persons, etc. They're going to have about a minimum of 40% of those grants. Essentially, what we're doing is we're going to these grants will allow them to expand their existing operations and upgrade their productive capacity to enhance the nation's export kind of market share in other global economies. So that's one part of it, is the export grant. The second part, which is very strategic, is under the EEFP, 50 billion naira facility. We're also establishing new domestic export warehouses. At these domestic export warehouses near our nation's ports, we are going to effectively have one-stop shops where we're going to streamline all of the various export items across value chains and sectors to ensure that they meet certain standards of quality, that safety standards are being adhered to, so that when Nigerian exports reach Malaysia, reach the US, reach the UK, reach Germany and Mexico and all these other countries, that they are of the highest international standards, so that we can effectively compete with other products being imported into those countries, which is very strategic.
Okay, now this program, this Export Expansion Facility Program under the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan, it's all about oil. Crude oil, one of our major waiting call. Did I just say waiting call? You get what I mean. Is a wasting asset. So the time will come when it won't be there anymore, or at least we won't have it in the quantities we have now. So all of this is like, it looks like the administration is sort of preparing for that, even though it's not going to be next year. It might not even be 10 years' time. But at least establishing the foundation for when we can't depend on oil anymore. Is that right?
That's absolutely right, Uncle Yori. In effect, if you look at what is happening now in the nation's oil and gas sector, effectively what President Muhammadu Buhari is doing is saying, look, we understand that this is a wasting asset. We understand that there is an expiration date or the viability of oil in the global economy. And as a result of that, we must get the most out of our oil productive capacity that we can while it's still revenue generating opportunity. And that's why just yesterday, after decades of delay, of course, the House of Representatives as well as the Senate passed the Petroleum Industry Bill as amended. We're very excited about that, what that's going to mean, not just for our host communities, but also for the enhancement of investment, both onshore as well as in the deep offshore exploration space, not just for indigenous local oil firms, but also for the international oil companies. Everybody is going to be fairly, recognized financially for the production they're going to bring to the table under that framework. In addition to that, the president has also said that we're moving very aggressively from oil into gas, because we recognize as an administration that gas is going to outlive oil in terms of its viability, in terms of the international, the global economy. So what the president has been doing, aside from the very recently groundbreaking on the NLNG Train 7, a $10 billion project that's going to enhance the national gas production capacity from 22 million tons per annum to 30 million tons per annum. The president has said we're not only going to enhance our production capacity with Train 7, but that we're going to work toward Train 8 while also drastically upgrading our gas transmission capacity. So the president, for example, has put in place the expansion of the OB3 pipeline moving from Rivers through Delta to Edo, the Obiafu Obrikom Oben pipeline, from 1.1 billion standard cubic feet per day to 2.2 billion standard cubic feet per day, dualize that. Then in the West, we have been able to dualize the Escravos to Lagos gas pipeline from 1.1 billion standard cubic feet per day to 2.2 billion standard cubic feet per day, essentially doubling the gas supply to power industries across Western Nigeria. And we know the impact that will have on the national economy. And then finally, about the Ajeokuta to Kaduna to Kano gas pipeline, multi-billion-dollar project that this administration is putting in place, that's also going to transport 2.2 billion standard cubic feet per day of gas from the Niger Delta up through the Middle Belt, up through the north, as the root piece of what will ultimately be the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline, ensuring that we can move Nigerian gas into Europe through the Sahara, through North Africa, in addition to our extension of the West African gas pipeline through Morocco. So the president's really building an economy, creating new revenue generation streams for the future of the Nigerian economy when oil dries up and gas is still irrelevant, and ensuring that the made in Nigeria products, whether it's potatoes, cocoa, processed goods as well, like vegetable oil, for example, from our soybeans, that these things are being exported so that we have multiple streams of income and we move away from oil and gas. He's not talking about it, he's actually doing it, and that's the difference.
It's great the way you just spoke about other things, crucial as gas and all of this is, but you now came down, because I was going to ask, so how do people will people be able to engage with this? After all, it is called the Export Expansion Facility Program. Right. Let's say I'm into cashew nuts, for example, whatever it is. It might be yam, it might be mangoes. So that's why I said, I appreciate your speaking about the heavy duty, first. But then how would the ordinary, first of all, how will you categorize exporters? There will be almost like one-man businesses, and then there will be companies. How are you going to handle that?
Thank you very much. It's a very, very important question you've just asked. So yes, indeed, there are there is a categorization framework for our exporters. But as in other parts of the 2.3 trillion naira economic sustainability plan, overseen by His Excellency the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the focus has consistently been the ordinary Nigerian, the common man, making sure that MSME that is operating in the export space.
What is MSME that you just said?
Yeah, that's micro and small and medium scale enterprises, not the large scale conglomerates, but those small mom and pop shops. Yeah. The young entrepreneur who's making plantain chips, cocoa chips, that's right, and many of the other things, coconut chips and all of that. These are the people that we're providing these grants to ensure that they can really scale up their operations. We don't want to just favor those who are already rolling in billions of profit. We're focused really on those that really need the assistance of government, not just in terms of financial grants, by the way, economic grants. It's also, aside from the domestic export warehouses, which are very important, and these export grants, we're also embarking on massive training exercises for exporters across the nation. The process is the EEFP website. In effect, you go there, you register for the grants, you register for the various interventions. But what it allows you to do is we train our exporters at all levels, micro, small, and medium scale, that we train them on the
Okay, it hooked for a while, but Ajuri was just saying in there that
very unique. If you're exporting to the U.S., what we do is we lay out in detail what the U.S. import requirements are to ensure that you effectively meet up with all of the requirements to the destination country that you're exporting to, which is very, very strategic. So there are multiple elements to the EEFP intervention.
And thank you for mentioning, because I also noted it myself. There is, if anybody is watching this, of course, the big guys, and the big projects, they always have their advisors, their specialists. But for the quote unquote mom and pop, sector, you were speaking about there is an EEFP website, and if people were to go there, then they will find a lot of enlightenment about EEFP, and indeed how to register. Indeed, those that qualify to register. So, because I wanted to bring this to to the human level, so that people watching this who are not big corporations could also see that they're also accounted for.
Absolutely. President Muhammadu Buhari is one leader who understands that the future of the Nigerian economy is really not even going to be oil and gas. It's really going to be in the ingenuity of our people. If you look around the world at the most advanced economies of the world, whether it's China, the US, UK, Germany, Italy, Japan, you will find that they are built on the backs of private business at the smallest level, mom and pop shops, as you call them. When you have millions of your citizens employing other millions of other citizens, that is where that's where revenue generation comes from, sustainable revenue generation, and true wealth comes from, the ingenuity of our people.
Okay, Ajuri, one moment. Ada has called in from Jos. Let me try and get Ada's question. Good morning, Ada.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Yuri. Good morning to Ajuri.
Yeah.
It's Ada from Jos.
Yes, okay.
Very interesting topic. Export expansion grants or whatever is laudable. But what I want to ask,
Export Expansion Facility Program.
Okay, Export Expansion Facility Program. Okay, now, my question is this. What are they exporting? What are we doing to give right value to our materials? Does it make sense they export cassava and we import starch? That is the one thing. And when we add value to these raw materials, that is what paves way for employment. And let me tell you something. They are exporting. Okay, when you export, and we happen to with some of the things here at the soaring prices of goods, I don't know how they are addressing that sort of issue.
All right.
Because a hungry man has no respect for law, authority, and humanity.
Okay.
It's all the same. Let's not give up on Nigeria.
No, we can't. We can't give up. Ajuri, I wonder, did you hear the question? Did you hear the comment?
Yes, I did. Okay. I did, my brother. I heard the question. Thank you very much, Ada, for the important question you've asked, or the observation you've also cited. I just want to say very quickly that, I think one of the areas where President Muhammadu Buhari does not get enough credit is his determination to process locally produced materials. We are not thinking about just exporting raw materials the way that most African countries have been doing for decades now. We're now thinking very actively, not just thinking, but acting toward ensuring that we're processing our raw materials. For example, we incentivized the construction in Kano State of a soybean processing facility that allows us for the first time to process our soybeans into vegetable oil so that we're exporting finished vegetable oil. Instead of a situation where for decades we have been exporting our soybeans to Germany so that the Germans will essentially employ their people in processing factories where they will process Nigerian soybeans, put the vegetable oil in a pack, wrap it up in a nice fancy packaging, and sell it back to Nigeria at 3 times. And we have to spend our scarce forex on those imports. That era is ending, and that's just one example of many examples across sectors where the president is actively investing in processing. We all know what the president has done in terms of processing in the gas sector, in the rice sector. We just unveiled last December a new integrated gas handling facility in Oredo of Edo State, essentially refining our wet gas into products like industrial grade propane that we can now export to the rest of the globe. So these are the areas where we can make a lot of progress, and the president is moving very aggressively in that direction, even in view of the scarcity of resources that we're facing as a country.
Yeah, indeed, lest we find ourselves in the situation Cote d'Ivoire actually is in regarding their cocoa and problems they're having. You know, it's being finished abroad. The best chocolate reportedly comes from Switzerland and France, but it's all from our cocoa, what it is processed over there. So what you're saying will relate to that. But Ajuri, because we're running down on time, I wanted you to also speak about in terms of the Export Expansion Facility Program, which is under the Nigerian Economic Sustainability Plan, the impact indicators that you have, that this program has, to show that you're on track. How many people do you expect that this will come to be? Sorry, somebody was speaking, was not speaking. What I was getting at was that how is this going to improve employment? How many more people are going to come on board, be employed as a result of this initiative? And so as you're speaking, I'll find out what they were trying to tell me. Carry on, please.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. You know, I think first and foremost, you know, when we look at the fact that we're coming through a global pandemic, you know, before you're even looking at expanding, you know, kind of the existing stock of jobs in the country, you're also thinking actively about ensuring the sustainability of existing jobs. Because, you know, in a pandemic, millions of jobs have been lost, hundreds of millions of jobs have been lost around the world. So you know, with obviously interventions like the Survival Fund, now the EEFP, what it does is not only does it deal with job sustainability, making sure that people are not getting sacked in the pandemic, but it also deals with making sure that these economic grants are deployed in such a manner that people can now expand their existing operations, employ other Nigerians. So it certainly does have an effect on job creation. But that's even just the direct job creation from the exporters. How about the indirect job creation? Because when they are producing more of their export product, naturally they are off-taking various raw materials from other suppliers wherever their operations are. And this has indirect impact on direct impact, but in an indirect fashion on other businesses and other entrepreneurs and laborers and artisans across the country, farmers and all of that. So it certainly does have an effect. We're looking at thousands of jobs from this EEFP, and that's not even including
one moment, please. Before you go further, I beg your pardon, Ajuri. One moment, please, because Mr. Ejirika has called in from Alimosho. Good morning, Mr. Ejirika in Alimosho.
Good morning.
Good morning. Put a bit of phone on Alimosho before. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
I like this move you guys are making. I want to use this opportunity to tell, although my name was not well spelled, it's Ejirika, not Ejirika. You know, I found this very difficult this Nigerians find it difficult to pronounce an Igbo name, Igbo that is not an Egyptian name, an Igbo name and a Nigerian, but that is by the way. This issue Ngelale is talking about, I want him to, as a spokesperson of the federal government, as case may be, they should spread out these issues of job creation and job seeking issues generally to all the sectors. Because this one is talking about now is...
I wanted to say, I wanted to crave your indulgence that he's speaking particularly and perhaps even narrowly on the Export Expansion Facility Program.
Yes, I'm using, that's what I'm saying. I'm using this medium to tell him also. I heard what you said. I said I'm using this medium. Yes, the name is well spelled now. The name is well spelled now. I'm using this medium to tell him to be holistic
All right.
Generally, in the issues of job creation.
Okay.
You know, when you take this in sector by sector, I mean, they should give out a time for introduction of all these things so that Nigerians can be carried along.
Okay.
The government seems to be doing so many things that we are not even privy to.
All right.
And you know, we are the one who put them there, but they are doing this thing as if they are doing it under the carpet.
Okay, thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Ejirika. I've got to give him a chance to sort of respond to that. Thank you very much, Mr. Ejirika, and so sorry for misspelling your name. So go ahead, please, Ajuri, if you will.
Yes, thank you to my brother, Mr. Ejirika, for calling in and providing his observations to all of us. I think it's important to note that when you see people like me come on air, it's for the sake of ensuring that everybody is carried along, that everybody understands these programs and how they can key into it. Most importantly, certainly have no interest in hiding anything under the rug. That's not in the interest of government or in the interest of the people of this country. I would say that to your question about spreading out the benefits, if you look carefully at how we have administered the social investment programs, how we've administered even the most recent survival fund during the pandemic, you would recognize that all states equitably benefited, across the states, across all local government areas within all of the states. That is essentially how the Export Expansion Facility Program is functioned, to ensure equitable distribution in terms of the grants to exporters across all states of the Federation, making sure that everybody has an equal share of these kinds of opportunities, because really we have products, we have wealth across this country.
Okay.
We're not just dealing with a mono product. We're not talking.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to jump in again. I'm sorry, because I'm reminded that Ada had asked, what are we exporting? And there's so very much. But I wanted to combine that, in case this is my last question, with the fact that when you're talking about, this being for exporters, you're also addressing, I have found out, supporters of exporters when it comes to registration. So people who are adding services, would you like to speak about that very briefly, that beyond exporters, there are those who are delivering service to exporters that are also included in this?
Absolutely. First of all, there are a series of items that we're already exporting. When you talk about, obviously everyone knows about what we do in cassava, what we do in yam, what we do in soybeans, what we do even in finished processed items like vegetable oil. We're already exporting finished items like plantain chips, etc. I mean, there's so many. Not to speak of raw materials like petrochemicals, methanol, and other items. There are so many materials.
So that partly answers Ada's question. That partly answers other questions. What are we exporting? Now, as to the supporters, the services to exporters, I think it's noteworthy that they are also included in this sort of initiative from government.
Well, that's really where most of our, it's an important point you're making, Uncle Yori. When you look at the value chain kind of depth in terms of making sure that you're penetrating the entire value chain with interventions, you also have to take into account that the EEFP is not working in isolation. It's working in synergy with other interventions. So when we're rolling out hundreds of billions of naira in zero interest to low interest capital through the DBN, through the Bank of Industry to MSMEs across the nation, we are ensuring that these funds, this capital gets into the hands of these operators within these various value chains.
Okay.
When we talk about the trader money, farmer money, market money scheme, you're talking about zero interest capital that gets into the hands of these actors within these value chains. And that's separate from what we're doing through BOI and DBN. So there are so many different interventions that this administration has.
In fact, so too many, I beg your pardon, Ajuri, we've run out of time. Too many for us to talk about effectively. Maybe we're going to have to do this again, because you could have expanded, if we had the time, on the whole zero oil idea for that time. But I wanted to thank you very much, Ajuri Ngelale, Senior Special Assistant for Public Affairs in the Presidency, for coming on and bringing this, as it were, to the attention of many more people than before. Thanks, Ajuri.
God bless you, Uncle Yori. Thank you to our viewers.
Bye-bye now.